Myself, Dr. Muralidhar Badigir, Department of Sharirachana. Today we are going to discuss about one of the important bone present inside the thoracic cavity or thoracic region. So that is sternum. So first we are going to discuss the introduction. Sternum is also known as the breastbone because this bone is situated in the chest region. On either side of the sternum, the mammary glands are present or the breasts are present. Because of that reason, this bone is also known as breastbone. According to Ayurveda, this bone is called by the name of urosthi or uroasthi because uro means chest region, asthi means a bone. The bone which is present in the chest region or urus region in the midline of the thoracic cavity, so that bone is called by the name of urosthi. This bone plays an important role in the bone marrow examination. So for the bone marrow examination, the bone marrow should be aspired. So aspiration of the bone marrow is done through the sternum by inserting the large bore needle through the sternum. And this bone is also involved in the formation of the two important joints. One joint is along with the costal cartilages, because 7 costal cartilages are there, that all the 7 costal cartilages are articulating with the lateral border of the sternum and form the joint that is a chondrosternal joint. And in the upper part, the sternum is articulating with the bone that is clavicle. Then it forms the joint. The joint is known as sternoclavicular joint. Next, we are going to discuss about the basic information regarding the bone. So first, location. So this bone is located in the median plane of the thorax and it extends from the infraclavicular notch to the epigastric fossa. Then what is this infraclavicular notch? See here, this is the sternum. This is the sternum. So in the upper part of the sternum, on both sides there is clavicles are there. One is the right clavicle, another one is the left clavicle. So both the clavicles are going to articulate with the manubrium sterni or upper part of the sternum, form the joint known as sternoclavicular joint. So this is the medial end of the clavicle and this is the lateral end of the clavicle. So between the medial end of the right and left clavicle, there is an area, this marked area. So this marked area lies between the medial end of the right and left clavicle. So this area is known as intraclavicular notch. This notch is also known as suprasternal notch or jugular notch. So we will discuss that point later. But one thing you should remember, between the medial end of the clavicle there is a notch. That notch is called by the name of intraclavicular notch. And the sternum starts from this intraclavicular notch to the tip of the gypoid process. This tip of the gypoid process lies in the epigastric region or epigastric fossa. This epigastric fossa, on either side there will be a presence of the costal margin. So between the right and left costal margin there is a triangular area that is called by the name of epigastric fossa. Now the sternum is extending from the suprasternal notch or intraclavicular notch to the tip of the gypoid process or epigastric fossa. The number of the bones present inside the body. The number of the bone present inside the body is the only one present in the midline and forms the axis of the body. And type of the bone. So the sternum is axial bone according to the location. According to the location, bones are divided into two parts. One is axial, another one is the appendicular bones. So this sternum comes under the axial group of the bones. And next, according to the shape and size, according to the shape and size, this is the plat bone. And according to Ayurveda, it is classified under the Kapalasthi. Next, we are going to discuss about the structure of the bone. The sternum is basically divided into three parts. One is upper part, that is called by the name of manubrium sterni. Second one is body of the sternum, and third one is the xiphoid process. It's very easy. The sternum is divided into three parts. See, this is a picture of the sternum. The upper part, so this part, so that is a quadrangular in shape. So that is called by the name of manubrium sterni. And the second part, elongated part. So this elongated part is known as body of the sternum. And last small hanging part, so this is called by the name of xiphoid process. It means the sternum is divided basically into three parts: upper part manubrium sterni, middle part body of the sternum, and last small part, that is called xiphoid process. Now one by one we are going to discuss. The first we are going to discuss manubrium sterni. So the manubrium sterni is the upper part. The first part or the uppermost part of the sternum is the manubrium sterni. So this manubrium sterni is quadrangular in shape. So quadrangular in shape means it is like this. It is a quadrangular in shape. So why it is a quadrangular in shape? Because it articulates with lateral border of this part is articulating with the clavicle and also costal cartilage. For the articulation, it presents the notches. Because of that reason, it is looking like a quadrangular in shape. So manubrium sterni is quadrangular in shape and uppermost part of the sternum, and it is also thick and broad part of the sternum. So anatomically it is divided into two major parts. One is surfaces, another one is borders. It means manubrium sterni presents 4 borders and 2 surfaces. First we are going to discuss the surfaces. See, this part, this is a manubrium sterni. So this manubrium sterni presents the anterior surface. This is the anterior surface. This lies just below the skin, and it is a convex outwards, and and it is easily palpable to your fingers. And next, posterior surface, the back surface. The posterior surface is concave. It is a concave, and that posterior surface is related to the superior mediastinum. Then what is this mediastinum? The mediastinum is the space between the two lungs. For example, this is a one right lung. This is a left lung. Between the two lungs, there is a space, though, or you can say between the right and left lung, in the medial surface, there is a space. That space is called by the name of mediastinum. This mediastinum is further divided into two parts: superior mediastinum and the inferior mediastinum. So this part, body of the manubrium sterni, forms the boundary for the anterior boundary for the superior mediastinum. So next we are going to discuss about the borders. So this manubrium presents 4 borders. One is superior border. Green color border is the superior border. So that is superior border, and blue color line, this is the inferior border, and red color line, that is the lateral borders. It means one superior border, one inferior border, and 2 lateral borders. One is the right lateral, another one is the left lateral. First we are going to discuss about superior border. The superior border is not a plane, it is depressed in the center and also depressed on either side of the central part. First, the central depressed part is called by the name of suprasternal notch. The notch means the depression. The depression is present superior to the sternum or superior part of the sternum, hence it is called by the name of suprasternal notch. So this part is suprasternal notch. This suprasternal notch is also known as jugular notch, and also it is known as intraclavicular notch, because this notch lies between the right and left clavicle or right and left medial end of the clavicle, hence it is called by the name of intraclavicular notch. On either side of the jugular notch or either side of suprasternal notch, 2 more notches are there. One is in the right side, another one is in the left side. So these 2 notches are articulating with the medial end of the clavicle. Hence, these 2 notches are called by the name of clavicular notches. It means on either side of the suprasternal notch, the manubrium sterni presents a depression for the articulation with the medial end of the clavicle and forms the joint known as sternoclavicular joint. Next, we are going to discuss about inferior border. The inferior border is merged with the upper end of the body of the sternum. It is not merged straightly, but while merging with the body, it bends a little bit and make an angle. For example, here I am going to showing in the diagram. See, this is the manubrium sterni, this is the manubrium sterni, and this is the body of the sternum. Where the manubrium sterni joined with the body of the sternum, it is little bit bent. So it means it forms an angle. This angle is known as sternal angle or angle of Lewis. So this angle is known as angle of Lewis or the sternal angle. It has its own clinical importance. We will discuss this sternal angle in separate video. And next we are going to discuss about the lateral borders. So that one is the right lateral border, another one is the left lateral border. So this lateral border is further divided into two parts, upper part and the lower part. In the upper part, it presents one complete circular articular facet which is articulating with the first costal cartilage. And near or at the angle of the sternal angle or angle of Lewis, it presents one more articular facet, but half is present on the manubrium sterni and half is present on the body of the sternum. Hence, on the lateral border of the manubrium, it presents the one more half of facet. So that's articulating with the second costal cartilage. It means the lateral border presents one complete articular facet and another one is half articular facet or demi-articular facet. And after the manubrium sterni, next we are going to discuss about the body of the sternum. So this is the body of the sternum. So the body of the sternum is elongated and it is extending from manubriosternal joint to the giphisternal joint, and it anatomically it is divided into parts. So that is called ends, surfaces and the borders. So the body of the sternum, if you taken this diagram here, so this is the body of the sternum. The body of the sternum consists anterior surface and the posterior surface, and also it consists the two borders, two lateral borders, right lateral border and the left lateral border, and it consists the two ends. One is the upper end, another one is the lower end. The first we are going to discuss one by one. First we are going to discuss about the ends. So the upper end of the body of the sternum articulates with the lower border of the manubrium sterni and forms the joint. That joint is known as manubriosternal joint. Here manubriosternal joint is represented by the sternal angle. And next, the lower end of the sternum is articulating with gyphoid process and forms the joint. That joint is known as giphisternal joint. So it means upper end involved in the formation of manubriosternal joint and lower end involved in the formation of giphisternal joint. And next we are going to discuss about the surfaces. The surfaces are two in number. One is anterior surface, another one is posterior surface. That is the back surface. The anterior surface is convex and posterior surface is concave. But anterior surface or posterior surface, they are represented by the transverse lines. So we are going to identify three transverse ridges. They are called by the name of transverse ridges. So these transverse ridges divides the body of the sternum into four segments. 1, 2, 3, 4. So each segment is called by the name of sternebrae. It means the body of the sternum embryologically developed from the segments. So they are four in number. These four segments are united. How the age advances, according to that, these four segments are united, and after the union, body of the sternum is formed. In the place of union, we are observing these transverse ridges. The transverse ridges are very prominently seen in the anterior surface, but ill defined or not properly seen in the posterior surface. But each sternibrace are united by the ridge. And next we are going to discuss about the anterior surface. Anterior surface is convex and represents the three transverse ridges. This shows the union of four sternibrace. And posterior surface is concave, and it is also presents three ridges, but they are not prominently seen. But the posterior surface going to form anterior boundary of the inferior mediastinum. Already we have discussed the mediastinum is the space between the medial surface of the lungs. So this is further divided into superior mediastinum and inferior mediastinum. The superior mediastinum already discussed. This inferior mediastinum, the anterior boundary of the inferior mediastinum is formed by the posterior surface of the body of the sternum. Next we are going to discuss about the borders. The borders are only two in number. One is the right lateral border, another one is the left lateral border. So if you are observed the borders are presents or presenting or have or the lateral borders are presenting four articular facet, complete articular facet, and two demi-articular facet. So first we are going to discuss four facets. See here, this is the lateral border of the sternum. Here complete articular facet. This is also complete articular facet. This is also complete articular. This is also complete. So how many? Third, fourth, fifth and sixth means four costal cartilages. The four costal cartilages, that is the third, fourth, fifth and sixth costal cartilages, are articulating with the lateral border of the sternum. Hence, they are going to form the joint that is called sternochondral joint. And at the junction of jiffy sternum and the body, there will be one more half articular facet, and there will be one more half articular facet is present at the junction of manubrium sterni and the body. So that is for the second and seventh costal cartilage. It means second and seventh costal cartilages are having the half articular facet on the body on the sternum. And last one is gyphoid process. So this is the smallest part. This is the smallest part of the sternum. This is the smallest part of the sternum, and it's a triangular in shape. The apex is facing downwards. See here, the apex is facing downwards, which lies in the epigastric fossa. It is lying in the epigastric fossa, and it is usually in the triangular shape, but in sometimes, imagine this is the body of the sternum. The gyphoid process is split into two processes. So if this type of the gyphoid process is found, then it is called bifid gyphoid process. And sometimes in some individual, it is not bifid, but it is a circular, but there will be central, there is a hole. So this type of the gyphoid process are called perforated gyphoid process. And this gyphoid process is articulating with the body of the sternum. This is called by the name of jiffy sternal notch, or jiffy sternal joint. And on the gyphoid process, on the lateral side of the gyphoid process, we found that there is a half articular facet. This half articular facet for the seventh costal cartilage. It means the sternum total, the lateral border of the sternum consists only seven costal cartilage articulations. In manubrium sterni, 1.5, and in body of the sternum we will get 4 complete and 2 half. It means 4 and 4 full facet and 2 are half facet. And gyphoid process presents only 1 half articular facet. So this is about the sternum.